Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel for today's video. I wanted to talk to you about the narcissists and their entitlement. So let's jump in. I think one of the biggest things that represents the narcissist or the narcissist is known for is entitlement. And that is to say, they just expect people to either know what they're wanting and to fulfill their needs, or to just pamper them and to put them first in any which way. Whatever it takes to satisfy them by any means necessary at all times. And one of the biggest things the narcissist does, and one of the biggest traps in the narcissistic spell that continues to draw you in, is at some point you kind of get to a place to where, just like in a love bomb, where they put you on a pedestal and they start to serve you more than you've ever been served before, and you get told all these great things. And it's not good because it pulls you into your ego from your higher self, into your ego, into your pompous self. And then you feel like because you're being pampered and served and told all these great things, you start to give that back, right? So you want to give equal reciprocity to some extent. It's just kind of natural. And it was welcomed. They were worthy of it to some degree at that point, because you didn't know maybe that they were playing with you at the time. So you thought it was worthy of the reciprocity. So because you are a fair individual and you felt confident that it made sense, so you give it back. So you start to serve them, you start to tell them good things, or all the good things that you're feeling about them based on this fantasy. See, when they pull you into the fantasy, it's not something that you just have to walk into and believe and that's it. But in the very beginning, you kind of believe they are this individual. Now, you are getting some hints of red flags, and you're getting hints that maybe it's not all true, but because you're getting love bombed, you run them right over. And just like they're infatuated with you, you're kind of getting infatuated with them now. And part of the allure that draws you into the narcissist spell is this intrigue. They're different than humanity. What's interesting is they're different, but they're not very unique at all once you get to understand this trickery. Because they start out as being different and interesting because you're not just dealing with that individual, you're dealing with a manipulative individual that's housing dark energy. So it is going to be intriguing, but it's not good intrigue. In fact, some sort of intrigue should throw up red flags in the future. But it draws you in further because they kind of move to a different beat. And they operate on a level that you haven't seen in a long time. But there is a nostalgic feeling because you dealt with this in your family, and you've probably had it. The older you get, you've maybe had one of these before. But the saving grace sometimes is, if you had one of these before, it starts to hit home that they're going to be a replica of the same thing at some point, and they're going to be just as destructive. And so that's what kind of started to wake me up. Y'all like to know my history, but that's kind of what happened to me. I had a few of them before this very last one, and the very last one started to show the same character of the other ones. And when you're with one like I was for 10 years in a marriage, you start to understand in that 10-year relationship they're never going to change. And that's what hit home with me. I think if I felt like the individual still had a potential to change, or the opportunity to change, I would have stayed longer. But at some point I was convinced, because I had given it my all, my very, very all. In fact, every narcissist relationship, they have a way of getting you to give your very everything. And I think that occurs because they're drawing that fuel off of you. You know, when we say that they're drawing different kind of energy, it's not just, oh, they upset you or they hurt your feelings and they're drawing that energy off. No, this is deeper. This is getting you to pour your life force energy out to where when they leave you, this is good, you ain't gonna get this anywhere else. But when you pour your life force energy out, it's coming from just deep down. I mean, it's stuff you don't do on a regular basis for normal humanity because it's not healthy and it's not necessary for you to pour that much out. But these individuals get you spelled into doing that. And that's why you feel just wiped of your memory of who the heck you are by the time they leave, because they have taken your whole identity. And to get that identity energy, I think it takes that core energy that they get you to continue to pour for them. To pour your heart out on a level that's outside of regular humanity, that you even, humanity that you later on fall in love with, or, you know, your love partner. When you meet your match in humanity, you still shouldn't have to pour out yourself like that, because it's not healthy and it's not right. But these guys do everything that's unhealthy and not right. Now, that energy would be available to your love partner in the future that is your right partner, but it's not something that they should necessarily have to tap into. And that's my point. Because you get equal reciprocity, and because you can confide in them and know they're not going to war against you, that they're not going to sabotage you or be your enemy that you're sleeping with, your worst enemy, to stab you in the back and backbite, smear campaign, and character assassinate you. You don't have to go to those levels. But in a relationship with the narcissist, they get you to continue to pour. And that's where they get that energy that is housing in it your identity. And what they refill you with is their core identity for a time. Energy, when it is transferred, energy transference, or energy emotions, doesn't last forever. Energy has a period of time to where it disperses or it goes back to its owner. And it can't be held on to forever. And that's why I say that they are partially in these cycles, because these cycles are driven by them losing those particles of you that are your identity that they're wearing, that give them power and control on other sources of supply that are targets to them. And if that's valuable enough energy, if it's worked very well, so if they were able to grab those pieces of you and give you their pieces of fear and anger and hate and jealousy and throw those on you because they're useless to them. They don't want them, but that's what they generate. So you focus on generating more of the love sector pieces, which would be wanting. What you want is love, joy, peace. You want faithfulness. You want gentleness, and you want all of those fruitful things. So you're focused on generating goodness. And when you wake up even, you find that you are walking in ego yourself more than you wish you have. So you become even more genuine than you were previous to meeting this narcissist that you were with. And you become more in the workings of the fruit of love, joy, peace, gentleness, goodness, and faithfulness. Because you want to cultivate those to the best of your knowledge at this point, because you've seen what the epitome of evil is, what it looks like and how destructive it has been to you. And you know that if you walk in ego, that you will perpetuate some of those traits, or you have the capability to, but you're not going to be genuine. And you have a passion for being genuine, and you've always had a passion for truth, but you didn't have the key to unlock the door until you were devastated by one of these narcissists. And it's usually not the first one. It's usually the second, third, or fourth. Because you have to go through a certain amount of trauma, and you got to go through a certain amount of key elements that wake you up and spark and ignite that whole truth in you. But getting back to the topic, they are entitled. They are so entitled to where you can do some amazing things for them. You can sacrifice so much to go out of your way. You can work all day in trying to supply their needs. And what they want to do is they want to not only keep you in their orbit. You know, I always talk about the different sources of supply, and you're in the center if you're the primary source. And even when they leave you, you still could be the primary source because they're feeding off you from afar. It's just the energetic attachment and you ruminating and thinking of them and the chase that's on and the triangulation. And the jealousy. They will even cause jealousy in you, even when you don't normally have feelings of jealousy. Or maybe you had feelings of jealousy when you were a child, but then you got saved and you put away those childish things. But they seem to have come back. And that's because when the narcissist comes into your life, they get you in ego yourself. When they put you on a pedestal, you never want to be put on a pedestal. Somebody can put you on a pedestal, but you don't want to accept that. You're best to accept humility, but not in the sense of being weak. Just that humility in the sense that that pedestal is left for your higher power, Christ, to be the one in that place and the only one. So they come to you with this entitlement. And the thing is they come to you with this entitlement, and you can go out of your way to do so many things for them, to spend money on them, to buy them gifts, just to try to surprise them or to make them feel good about their day. Maybe they look like they've been in a sunken place, but that's how they always look. I mean, a lot of times. And to maybe change the energy of the day because you're used to this individual being down or causing problems every day, right? And you just don't want problems today. And you feel like you'd be killing two birds with one stone if you get them a gift, and maybe to bring joy to your heart and bring joy to their heart. But they can never really, they always seem to ruin the day. But in this entitlement, they just feel that you're supposed to do all these things for them, sacrifice for them. And you sacrifice when you go into this fantasy with them. You get drawn in. It's not like you just have to believe the lie, but you believe it in the very beginning, and you've been running over red flags to go into it with them. And a lot of times you can't wait to get connected with them at some point. But once you get in headlong into that fantasy, it turns into another set of rules. Because once they get you hooked in that fantasy of who you think they are, with the mask on, all shiny and clean, because they're devaluing somebody in the background, then it leads to the devaluation of you and the hot and the cold, or the gray area, the wishy-washy, the I don't know what to expect today. They love you to death, and then they just ghost you. Or they give you backhanded compliments or passively aggressive things they may do to you. Because you have the understanding of the emotional field very well, you can kind of see through some of these things. Even with the red flags being run over, you're still seeing that their true intent is not necessarily what they're saying, but what they're doing, or how they're saying it, and what their meaning is behind it. So it kind of gives you a bad feeling inside, and it hurts much more, but you might try to put that aside and try to take them at face value for a time. But they're insatiable, so they continually break you down to a point to where if you love yourself maybe, at least to some degree, you're going to quit it with them, which some people call it the forced discard or the reverse discard. A lot of times that's what would happen to me on this last one, because I had had so many of them and I knew what this was gonna turn into, but still it hooked me. It hooked me because this was such a powerful, dark individual. It hooked me real well compared to what I thought it was doing. But they just expect things, and that's why it's like they just want to show up. That's all they have to do is show up, and they want dessert. Because you're always the one doing the sacrificing, but it's not just that you're sacrificing, it's just that you don't even get the respect or the appreciation or the compliment or anything that should come with some of that sacrificing. But what you end up doing is sacrificing yourself and all of your ethics and morals. And that's what it leads to. It leads to you being just as corrupt as they are. And that's because at some point in time, you become a lie just right along with them. Because when you enable evil, then you can't be truthful and enable evil at the same time. It's a sacrifice of your goodness and godliness and truth and justice. You're taking the scales from having equal scales to now making them unequal. And that's an abomination to God. And that's what the narcissist gets you to do, especially after discard, and then they play the hot and cold. The touch and go, the stick and then a carrot. Hit you with the stick and then give you the carrot. And they feel as if this is going to last forever. So they don't have any remorse in doing it. And till it's over. The narcissist always overplays their hand at some point in time, and you will walk away in most cases. And when you walk away, a lot of times they just think that they own you and have ownership of you, and they lie to themselves and think that they'll be able to come back. And when you don't let them, then they have to face whatever it is they're dealing with. And I say it like that because they may have other forms of supply and they may not skip a beat. But I think deep down, if you're able to accept the betrayal and grow and become a more authentic you, survive and start to strategize from learning and getting understanding of all of this pathology, how to become the best you can be and to let them go. And I think the big key is to letting them go, because again, you're in a failed mode after discard when you still want them. When you still accept their calls, when you refuse to block them, when you continue to pick up the phone or think on them and need their validation. Their validation is needed so much at some point in time because they get into your world, and maybe you did have a little bit of codependency and fear of maybe being alone, or maybe in a little insecurity there. But when they come into your life, they inflame it. And how they inflame it is to continually knock you off from your center, to make you wobble, to continually knock you down and persuade you and convince you that you're doing it wrong. This life, the way that you're treating them, they'll gaslight you into second guessing yourself, and all the toxicities that come along with the confusion. The enemy is the author of confusion. And when a narcissist comes into your life, how they get you to need validation is for you to always second guess yourself and question your own abilities. And they do it by lying, creating confusion, gaslighting, and manipulating your world. But even professionals will tell you They may not necessarily all be online, although I think you can find them. A lot of professionals, there's two different types. Some blame all of this on trauma, and others come from the viewpoint and a lot from this entitlement. That trauma doesn't make somebody abuse. So this shouldn't be a normal case, a normal situation that should occur in the narcissist. They abuse because they're entitled. And entitlement is if they can get you to do it, or if they can get away with it, they will do it. And because there's enough enablers out there, and there's enough people that will stick with them through their manipulations and their spellbounding, then they have enough supply to keep them adrift. And then to have these psychologists and psychotherapists affirming that it's through just trauma. But if it was just trauma, a lot of times you would see them flipping out all over the place, not having control. And they do have a sense of self-control to some degree. When they are out and about and they're fueled up, they can act right. But behind closed doors, they will completely abuse and destroy people. And at some point, it may, especially for women, they speak on, it could start out as rough play and then begin to turn into even physical abuse from there. But nevertheless, it's a dangerous situation to be with a narcissist, because when they are flipping energy with you and you accept all of this negative energy that they're carrying, that they project onto you, for all the destruction of people that they are doing and lying, manipulating, cheating, they hurt people very badly, and some of them want vengeance. And when you start to get some of that negative energy that's holding in it, the energy that would draw revenge to that energy, vengeance to that energy, hate, anger, jealousy to that energy, and you end up getting it projected onto you and you absorb it. You could be an innocent bystander and get devastated, hurt, or even stop breathing. But the narcissist lives with a foundation built on sand, quicksand, and it's very fragile. That's why a lot of times when you go against that false self or that fantasy, the narcissist will passive aggressively attack you. They will attack you with rage. They will silent treatment you or ghost you, give you indifference, or play that hot and cold with you some more. They cannot address the issue. They usually give you time and leave you. And then if they feel they can get back in and come back in without you asking more questions and you addressing the last pertinent issue that got them to leave you. If you can start all over with them, they may come back until the next issue arises, but they will not deal with anything that goes against the false mask, which is to say they want to do any evil that they want. They want to cheat on you, lie to you, ghost you, and everything gets blamed on you, even if you catch them in bed with somebody. So not only are they evildoers, and they can only think from their lower self and detached from their higher self, their spirit man, their innate true self, but they're dirty, y'all. The amount of individuals that they get into bed with, just on that alone, it's dirty. Dirty individuals, y'all, men or women. And that's not somebody you want to build a life with, because it's always a life on the sand. It's never something that you can invest in and know that you will get a reward that's worth your time. Thank you for watching. Give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up. Till next time, Soldier up. Peace be out.